Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here, for watching this and joining me in these rituals today. I just want to begin by doing a little bit of centering to ground ourselves, to invite ourselves into our body so that we can experience and understand everything that we need to from this meeting. So to invite you to close your eyes and just find yourself in a very comfortable position. Feel your weight drop into your body. Just want you to become aware of what day you are in your cycle, what inner season you might be experiencing. And any feelings that you are having. How are you feeling physically? How are you feeling emotionally? How are you feeling mentally? And how are you feeling spiritually? And we're going to just take 3 deep breaths to center ourselves in our body. So inhale with me and release. Again, inhale and release. One last time, the biggest breath you've taken all day. And release. When you are ready, you can breathe your eyes open. So yeah, I'm just really excited to be here today, and I'm just so grateful to have my breath to center and ground, and I hope you are as well. And there are a lot of great things I have prepared for us today, some practices and some information that might be new, some that might be old, but hopefully it'll all be beneficial for us together. So let's start by just talking about today. We are in the new moon of Virgo. So Virgo is the sign and the energy of what happens whenever we collect things and we begin to dissect it and digest it, and we're really finding the things that are nourishing for us. And then we are able to process what is not nourishing and what we are able to let go of. So this new moon is a time of cleaning and clearing. So we can come up with practices and rituals for ourselves that will really allow us to nourish our bodies and our spirits and we can really decide what is not good for us and to let go. So to make an intention for this moon cycle is to make an intention for processing and dissecting what we have in our lives, whether that is relationships. Maybe there are some toxic relationships that we have that we need to really analyze and decide whether they are good for us to be in our lives, and whether it is time to cut those ties or not. And we can also dissect and digest our work in the world, what's working, what's not working, what we can let go of, anything that's happening with our families or our loved ones, and especially our own self-identity. What are the things that we think about ourselves that is not nourishing for us? And we can really dissect if that is helpful for us to move forward in growth, or whether that is something that we need to cut ties with and tell ourselves that it is a lie to believe that. Because that is the one thing that we are really good at as human beings, is judging and giving negative self-talk to ourselves. And it is a nasty cycle that just continues until we can break out and tell those things that they are lies and not believe them. So now is a great time to do that. We can, this energy of Virgo really allows us to see sort of the black and white of it. What is the nourishing parts, and what are the things that are no longer nourishing for us, so that we can, just let it go. So also Virgo allows us to find techniques and things in our life that allow our body to come back into alignment with our highest truth, with our divine nature that is innate within us. So I invite you to go ahead and think about those things as this moon cycle progresses. And if you want to set an intention for this new moon, that is a great place to start, to set an intention to really analyze and digest and dissect what is working in your life and what is no longer working that you can let go of. So that is the energy we find ourselves in today, and the energy that I will be going through as we talk about our heart chakra, and that energy that we find with the things that are revolved around our heart chakra that will allow us to really see where we are in balance or imbalance, and that energy of the Virgo will allow us to really take that in or release it and let it go when it's not working. So the first practice that I wanting to share with you is actually a practice from a woman named Uma Dismore-Tully, who created womb yoga. And one of this practice that I'm going to teach you is called the womb heart sacred greeting. And so this is just a very, very simple practice to begin the energy to flow from our heart and our womb, to connect the two together, these two very feminine, divine feminine energy centers in our bodies, and to allow that energy to start flowing and to allow them to communicate together. So I'm just going to move my camera down so I can show you. You can do this practice either sitting on the ground, or you can do the practice standing up, And you can do it as small as you would like or as big as you would like. So it's kind of, there's a free range within this. You don't have to do it exactly as I do. If you want to add more movement to it, you can, but I'm going to show you the simplest way that I was taught how to do this. And then if you want to elaborate, feel free to do that. So let me just move it down so you can see. This is the connection between our heart and our womb space. So how you're going to start, we start with our hands in Namaste. Then we are going to move our hands into the Yoni Mudra, which is a downward triangle. And Yoni, the Sanskrit word for our womb. So when we have the Yoni Mudra, we're going to move it down over to our womb space. And then we're going to bring it back up into Namaste. So you just want to make this a very fluid motion that is like a river. And it is just allowing the energy of your heart and your womb to connect with one another. And it is also best if you're able to connect your breath with this process as well. So the way that we want to breathe with this is we're going to inhale, exhale, Yoni Mudra, moving down to the womb, and again, inhale, back to Namaste. Exhale, Yoni Mudra, down to the womb, inhale, back to Namaste. So try it a few times, just with the breath, connecting the breath to this sacred breathing. See if you can feel the energy flow and the connection, communication between the heart and the womb center. And allow the breath to guide it. Send the breath down to the womb, bringing the breath back to the heart. So you can also make it bigger. You can bring your arms up over your head and back down if you want. And also, there's a lotus flower. You put your pinkies and your thumbs together and you can bring the lotus flower up and then back into Namaste again. So there's many different variations. Like I said, you can also do this standing up, which gives you a bigger range of motion. The main idea is just to focus on that connection between your heart space and your womb space. So at any time you want to find that connection, you're feeling disconnected from your heart or your womb, I invite you to do this practice. It's very simple. You can do it as few times as you want to or as many times as you want to. Just the main idea is to try and feel the energy flowing and communicating between your heart and your womb space, which I will explain more why that's really important later, why that connection exists and why it's important for us to have that energy flowing. But first, let's focus just on the heart chakra itself. And the heart chakra being located in the center of our chest. and also extending out into our breasts and our arms and our hands. So the work we do in the world with our hands coming from our heart chakra energy. And the heart chakra is also ruled by the element of air and the color green. And it is also the seat of our emotions and our feelings. And it is also the seat of our relationships, but it is the non-sexual relationships. The sexual relationships are governed by our sacral chakra, the second chakra, and our heart governs all of the rest of the relationships that we have. And that also includes all of our loving relationships we have, whether it's friends or family, people that we love, our pets, children, whatever it is that you love dearly, that is your heart chakra energy. And the other emotions it's very connected to joy and to acceptance and to forgiveness. So those are things that are all very important for our heart chakra to be balanced, to have those emotions be balanced within us. Something else that's very important about the heart chakra is that it is in the center of the 7 chakras. So we have the first 3, which are in the lower part of our body, and the upper 3, which are in the upper part of our body. Our lower 3 chakras are very rooted and grounded in the earthly plane. So they're very focused on material things, on the things that are in this mundane world of being humans, our human experience. Those things are focusing on our first 3 chakra energies. Now, our upper 3 chakra energies are mainly focused on the spirit realm. So our divine nature, our higher being, if you are a follower of any specific gods or goddesses, they're very closely connected to the upper 3 chakras, and that's also how we are connected to our own divine nature within ourselves. So the heart chakra is the connection between the earth, our lower chakras, and the spirit, our higher 3 chakras. So it plays a very, very important role if there is blockages or the energy is not flowing through our heart chakra. Then we can lose the connection either between, we can either lose the connection flowing up to understanding that we are divine in nature, or we can lose the connection to understand and be really grounded in reality in the earth. So we really need the heart chakra flowing so that we can, move easily between our earthly existence and our innate divine nature. So if our heart chakra is unbalanced, some of the things we might experience are, problematic or draining relationships. Like I said earlier, those toxic relationships that we have, if you find yourself getting into a lot of toxic relationships, that probably means there is a problem with the heart chakra energy in you that needs to be focused on. You might have difficulty connecting to people in a meaningful way. You might feel really lonely, even if there are many people around you who care and love you and show that they're there for you. You might still feel really lonely and isolated as a sign of an imbalance. Other things could be shyness, lack of empathy, codependency, needing validation for who you are, and finding that validation in other people instead of your own being. Feelings of jealousy or possessiveness, things like feeling really judgmental towards other people and especially towards yourself, and afraid to let go of emotional hurts that have been in your past. This can be a sign that you're stuck in a victim mentality. You're really holding on to those things that have hurt you and those emotions that you felt during that hurt. The more you hold on to that, the more you're stopping the heart chakra energy from flowing. And I'll give you a practice later how we can work through that. And other things like when you're expecting rewards for when you give love. So you're looking, have a one-sided love and not a reciprocal love. And when you have a fear of commitment, where you really guard yourself against getting hurt because of things that have happened in your past. And so those things are also signs that you're really stuck in your head and you're making your decisions and your processes are all going through your head and you're not allowing your heart to enter into those decisions, into those situations that you are experiencing. So, yeah, so some things that we can do to bring our heart chakra in balance, and some things like the exercise, the womb yoga exercise that I just gave you, can be helpful to start getting some of that energy flowing. But some other things, like I said, the heart chakra is governed by the color green. So it could be getting in nature, being around green things, green grass and the trees. And like I'm always saying, one of my favorite practices is just being barefoot on the ground, as well as being very grounded and rooting in our existence here. It's also very helpful for the heart chakra, for that energy to flow. And other things would be, eating green foods, whether that's broccoli, kale, leafy greens, spinach, Brussels sprouts, beans, peas. Drinking green tea is also really good for the heart chakra. And also, if you work with any crystals or stones, a couple crystals or stones that could be helpful is a green one like jade, but also a rose quartz is really good for the heart chakra. And if you're working with crystals and you are interested in yoni eggs, or if you work with yoni eggs as well, which I do, I have these two actually yoni eggs that I work with when I work with things that are happening in my heart chakra space. When those feelings of jealousy or judgments, or I'm not able to forgive myself for something, when those come up, I work with my yoni eggs in my jade and rose quartz that will really help the energy of the heart chakra and those feelings to be able to release, and so that I can really love on myself and care for myself during those times when I tend to be hardest. So if you're interested in learning more about yoni eggs, let me know. I can share more about that in our Facebook community online, because I really love yoni eggs, and so I'd love to share more about that later. Yeah, if you are into essential oils and doing aromatherapy, Lang Lang is really good, as well as jasmine, and also pine is a good one, and rose. So those 4 essential oils are really good for the heart energy. And other yoga poses that you might do are heart openers. So things like cobra pose, camel pose, wheel pose, bow pose, all things that are opening up the heart, as well as forward folds and cat-cow pose. So those are all things that you can add into your routines and your rituals if you're really struggling with some of the things I mentioned earlier and you think your heart chakra may be imbalanced. Those are some things that you can add in and see how it allows that energy to move and flow through you. So, another practice that I have not done for very long, but I've just started and I would love to share with you because I had said that our breasts are also an extension of our heart energy, and they're really sort of gatekeepers of our heart, if we can think of it that way. And the way we feel about our breasts, and I know so many women feel shame about their breasts because they're too big or too small, or one's too big and the other's too small, because they're not going to be perfect, perfect as we see or as we think they should be perfect. They might have hair on them, or whatever sort of thing there might be, because they're all different, but they're all beautiful. And so one of the practices we can do is actually a breast massage. So I'm just going to teach you some things I have learned about breast massage, and if you are wanting to try it, that would be fabulous. And something also that I have found out about breasts is that our lymph nodes that are located in our breasts can often become stagnant and not able to allow energy to flow through them because of things we do, like wear tight bras or clothing. People that wear bras 24 hours a day, even sleep in them, that can be really harmful for not allowing your lymph system to release the toxins that are flowing through there. I actually I've stopped wearing any underwire bras. I am wearing just a little tank top today, and that's what I usually wear now. I usually just wear a tank top underneath my shirts now, and I have been loving it. Going bra free has been really great. So if anybody wants to try that and let me know how it goes, like, I'm all for it. But also, if you want to wear a bra, go for it. Like, do whatever works best for you. If you're wearing a bra, like, my only suggestion would be take it off at night, because your breast lymph system does need time to really release those toxins and let the energy to flow through. So again, I will move my camera down just a little bit so you can see. This is just very simple. It can be even just a couple minutes to 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be very elaborate. If you are doing it, you can do it where you can find a massage oil. I have this oil here, which is orange blossom and jasmine. It also works great with, almond oil or coconut oil, which you can do, which is good. Any oil that's good for the skin. Don't use oil that might cause damage to your skin. So the first part is to just you're gonna put one hand underneath and one hand on top, and all you do is just you move it back alternatingly, back and forth, back and forth. And while you're doing this, go ahead and say some loving mantras to yourself. Tell yourself how beautiful you are. Tell yourself how much you love yourself. Just really love on yourself when you're doing this. And love on your breast tell them, you know, thank you for what they mean to you, what they have done for you, how they are protecting and guarding your heart, and yeah, just love on yourself. So that's one way you can do it, and then you can go ahead and you just make circles. Just go ahead and make circles, actually holding your breasts, making circles one way and the other way. And then you can just give a gentle shake. This is really just allowing the energy to move through your breasts and through the tissues, and allowing your lymph nodes to release any toxins that are in there. Now, this fourth one, I will say, is founded by the Taoism and the Chinese medicine. And what you do is you start on the outside, and you go down, and then you move to the inside and you go up. Outside, down, inside, up. Now, you can also go the other way. The other way has been shown to grow your breasts. So if you have really large breasts and you don't want them growing any larger, just do the outside and then the inside. If you have small breasts and you want them to grow larger, go ahead, go down on the inside and then up on the outside, down on the inside and up on the outside. So go ahead and do that. If you have any problems with your breasts, don't do this either, because it really amplifies the energy. And if there's any thing in there you don't want amplified, then skip that one. So those are just some ways that you can just massage your breasts and love on yourself. And yeah, feel free to do one of them, all of them, none of them. I have found it really helpful, just a self-care practice, and just to love on myself, and do it a few minutes. You can even do it in the shower, just a couple minutes in the shower, just loving on your breasts, even while you're soaping yourself up. Just loving on your breasts and allowing all your lymph nodes in there, releasing and letting go. So our heart chakra is very connected to our womb space. Our heart and our womb have a deep connection, and this was founded in Chinese medicine, and they call it I might not be saying this correct, but the Bao Mai. There's probably an intonation that I'm not familiar with there, but the Bao Mai is also known as the uterus vessel. And this is the channel between the heart and the womb, because they talk about the uterus, our womb space, as being the vessel for the energy of the heart. So the energy of the heart flows down and gets collected in the womb vessel. And as you will see in a little bit, this can be helpful, or this can be not so helpful for us, depending on what energy we're allowing to flow down. So, our hearts are the ones that govern the blood in our body. It is the one pumping the blood all throughout our body, allowing the blood to circulate. And our womb relies on the blood to keep functioning. So once the blood stops flowing, our womb doesn't function the way that it used to, and we still have the energy there, but physically it is not functioning the way it was before. And so there is this connection between the blood of our heart and our womb. And even if you are in menopause and not experiencing a monthly bleed anymore, that's still the energy of the blood, and the meaning of the blood is still there in your womb. And it's been imprinted, and it will always be there. And even if you've had a hysterectomy and you don't even have a physical womb anymore, that space is still the vessel for your womb blood and the energy that had been passed through it there for years, before you reached menopause or had your hysterectomy. So there's still a direct connection for you between your heart and your womb space. So our heart is responsible for the opening up of our womb. And I've seen this personally in my life, that, whenever our heart is experiencing things, whenever our heart chakra is imbalanced, we're experiencing difficult relationships, we're experiencing, those feelings of jealousy and not able to forgive and judgments, then that stops our womb from opening. And it stops us from ovulating, which then, can stop you from menstruating if you're not ovulating. And so our heart is very connected actually to the cervix, and the cervix being what, opens to allow the blood to flow out and to allow a baby to be born. So also, if when your heart is in a good space, if you're pregnant and your heart and your heart energy is in a great space, it will allow your cervix to open, and for the baby to be born. And if you are closing that energy and blocking it off, then your cervix is not going to open. And they have seen that women will be fully dilated, and then something will happen to have some sort of emotion will happen to shut them off, and some sort of fear or some sort of judgment that they have, and their cervix will close up again, because there is that direct connection between our heart and our cervix in particular, and our whole womb space. So there, let's just do a little meditation. It's going to be short, and it's just going to bring a visual to how we can visualize this connection between our womb and our heart space. And so I just invite you to find a comfortable seat. You want to sit with your back nice and tall, but your shoulders relaxed. And then you can just go ahead and close your eyes whenever you are feeling comfortable. And just bring your attention to your breath. Become aware of your breath going in through the nose and releasing out through the nose. I want you to bring your awareness to your womb space. I want you to see it as rich, dark soil of the earth. See the soil in the vessel of your womb space. It's moist and it's fragrant and it's healthy. And I want you to take a seed, a flower seed, and plant that in the soil. And we're going to water that seed. We're going to allow the sun to shine down on that seed. And in the darkness of the seed, a crack opens. And small, tiny roots begin to flow downwards. They flow downwards into the ground underneath you. And the roots get bigger and larger as they are connecting to the earth underneath you. And these roots are gathering the nutrients from the earth up into the seed. Well, the energy is flowing upwards into the seed and into your womb space. And you see the seed is cracking open more. And a stem, smallest stem, the tiny bud is pushing upwards towards the surface of the soil. And it breaks free. It comes into the light. And as we continue to water the soil, as we continue to give sunlight, the stem of the flower begins to grow. It's growing upwards. It's growing stronger. It grows to your abdomen, continuing upward. You see leaves sprouting from the stem. And as the bud on the top of the leaf reaches your heart space, see the bud in your heart. And as you continue to water and give sunlight, the petals begin to open. One by one, the petals of your flower are opening. Slowly, graciously, lovingly, this flower is blooming. When it is fully bloomed, it is lavish and colorful. It is bright. And you see this flower radiating its beauty in your heart. And the only way it's possible to be this beautiful is with the connection to the earth and the soil in your womb. The connection is flowing between the soil and the petals, between the seed, the roots, the stem, the flower. The energy has birthed a beautiful flower. The more you pour the water, the sunlight, the love, and the care into the soil, into the flower, it will grow more beautiful and more lavish and abundant. Allow that feeling to radiate through your body, out of your body into the room. out of the room into the town you are in, out of the town or city into the state, out into the country. Let this energy radiate out into the world and even into the universe, into the cosmos. Feel the vastness of abundance that can come from your heart energy. Take a deep breath. Allow your breath to nourish your heart. When you are ready to come back into this space, you can breathe your eyes open. Mm. Mm. So this is a meditation that we can practice because what it says in Chinese medicine with our heart and womb connection is that any of our unprocessed emotions, experiences, traumas, anything that can be too overwhelming for the heart to hold on its own, all of that gets shifted down the channel into our womb space. Now, these things that we are not able to process, and things rightfully so, that is just not possible to process all at once. If something really traumatic happens to you, you're not expected to process that all right away. It's impossible. You cannot do it. So this is meant as not, to make you feel guilty in any way, because it's actually a design to protect our hearts. Because if our hearts, become sick or overwhelmed or whatever it might be from those extreme traumas and emotions, that's a very serious, life-threatening situation. So to protect our hearts, these emotions, experiences, traumas can get passed down into our womb space. And these things can actually create some of the problems that we have in our womb. It can create things like endometriosis or fibroids or PMS or things like infertility or sexual problems. Things that we are experiencing in our womb can actually be unprocessed emotions and experiences that we haven't been able to deal with yet. And this has been found a lot within the work I do in menstrual cycle awareness, where women will have very deep-rooted negative emotions or negative experiences that create extreme feelings and emotions that they aren't able to process, that are sitting in their womb space. And once they are able to process some of those emotions, some of the symptoms release and lift from their menstrual experiences. And one in particular can be, especially if you have trauma or a difficult experience around your menarche. Whenever you first got your period, how that was treated. Was it shameful? Was it taboo? Did something happen that was really embarrassing for you? Was it in public, in front of other people? You know, those types of experiences especially can get stored in our womb space, or any birth trauma that you had. You know, it's not just our emotions that have to do with our womb space, it's emotions with other things. You know, a divorce, a job loss, anything that creates, you know, these extreme emotions that we aren't able to process all at once. So, yeah, if you're experiencing something like that, if there's still, you know, trauma in your life you haven't processed, emotions, experiences, this is an encouragement to find safe spaces to process those, because it can release energy from the womb up through the heart and out. And also, like I said, during this new moon in Virgo, that is something that we can, you know, process and decide for ourselves. These things that are in our lives, do they need cleaning and clearing out? Is now the time to do it? So finding those safe spaces, if you know, if you have a friend that is just a listening ear that's willing to give you that ear to listen, or if you need something like finding a counselor or a therapist, doing things like art therapy, dance therapy are really good to do body therapy, especially for these emotions that you will find that sit in your womb space. If you're able to move your body in a therapeutic way that you feel safe, can release a lot of those emotions and experiences. If you want to talk specifically to somebody that understands the problems with the menstrual cycle connected to your experiences and emotions, I'm open for one-on-one meetings with people, and so that is something I'll offer to you if you would like to meet with me one-on-one to process some of those things that might be sitting in your womb space, that could be resulting in your problems that you are having, whether it be as simple as cramps or whether it is, you know, more extreme like endometriosis. Those are things that we can talk to and talk through with one another. So that's why, like, it's really important that the more we focus on our heart space and keeping our heart chakra balanced and having those things in place that we can process our emotions and our experiences, because the more emotions and experiences that we don't process, the more we pile on to our heart and our heart energy, then that's the more likely that what our heart isn't able to handle will be channeled down into our womb space and create problems in our womb. So that's just like a really, I just want to really encourage you to be able to find those self-care practices for you where you can love on yourself and really care for yourself and have and identify those places that you are able to process those emotions and experiences that are really difficult in your life. So the last practice that I am going to share with you today actually comes from NVC, or nonviolent communication. And this is a practice of self-forgiveness. And it can also be used on forgiveness for other people, but what I'm going to share with you today is for self-forgiveness and to help process those emotions within our heart and those experiences that we have had so that they don't cause problems for our womb. So if you have a journal or a pen, actually you want a journal and a pen, so you can go ahead and go get those, or bring them out for you. And yeah, so once you have those ready, we are going to start the practice. I just want you to become aware of something in your past. It could be yesterday, or it could be 20 years ago, whatever it is. Something that you have said or you have done in your past that you regret, and that still comes into your awareness pretty regularly. So something that you've not been able to release and let go of yet. So take a minute to just think about what that is for you. And just pick one. Don't. So this isn't about getting rid of everything in our lives and forgiving everything all at once. This is a slow process, and so we really want to take our time. And for the amount of time we have today, it's probably best just to choose something that's not too heavy. On a range of 0 being really easy, you're not thinking about it, to 10 being like the worst trauma and experiences you ever had in your life. Let's pick somewhere around a 4. So just to make it not too intense right now. So once you have your situation that has happened, something you have done or said that you regret, the first thing we're going to do, you're going to write it down as an observation. So you're going to write it down like you are a third person in the situation and you are looking in at the situation, which means you're just going to focus on the facts. You're just going to focus on maybe the day, the time that it was, possibly, who was there, and what was actually said. Just focus on the words that were said or the actions that were done. We're not putting any judgments on this. There's no feelings on this situation. You just want to write the facts, what you can remember of the facts. So just take a couple minutes and go ahead and write that out. Write out the situation, just focusing on facts and observing the facts and not putting any judgments. So once you have the situation written down, just based on your facts, the next thing you're going to do, you're going to write underneath that your feelings. So what do you think or feel about yourself for having done or said what you wrote? So I'm actually going to share my screen with you. I have a list here of feelings. And this is from NVC, the Nonviolent Communication. So here you'll see a list of feelings, and obviously there's a lot more feelings, and you can write down a lot more feelings than that as well. But I want you to identify just a couple of feelings that whenever you think about the situation that you wrote down, how does it make you feel about yourself? So don't put any feelings or judgments on anybody else that was in the situation. How does it make you feel about yourself? So go ahead and take a couple minutes to write that down. Once you have written a few feelings, you've identified that situation, what you said or what you did, how it makes you feel. Now we're going to move into what needs you were trying to meet with that situation. So here's a short list of basic needs. And if you read, really quickly through this list of needs, you can see that they are all universal and they're all necessary for surviving in life. And these are basic human needs. So every human is experiencing these needs and trying to meet them in some form or another. So when you are thinking about your situation and you see the feelings about how you feel about the situation towards yourself, I want you to try and identify at least one, maybe two, but focus on one need that you were trying to meet during that situation. So, for instance, let me give you an example of somebody that is trying to meet a need of, let's see, harmony. So somebody has a need for harmony, and so they go and have a talk with their boss about something that is happening in work, and it doesn't go how they want it, so they start feeling really frustrated because they are just butting heads with their boss. And the reason they feel frustrated is because their need for harmony is not being met. So look at the feelings that you wrote down, the way that you feel about yourself in this situation, and then try and see if you can find a need that you are trying to meet. So hopefully you were able to find at least one need in the list. And I will send this list out with the recording so that you can download it yourself and look at it later. So the point of doing this exercise, if you see the need that you wrote, that is a need that every human has. Every human, it's a basic universal need. And we all have choices of how we meet those needs. And so the feelings that we feel because of the needs being unmet are universal in nature, and they're not positive or negative. The feelings or the needs, there's no positive or negativity attached to them. Now, what you can do by seeing that your need is universal, and maybe you chose a strategy to try and meet that need that was not helpful for you. But recognizing that you were just trying to meet the need to the best that you knew how in that situation. There is no reason to judge yourself for that. There is no reason at all to judge yourself for trying to meet your needs. Everyone is trying to meet their needs the best that they know how. Now, with an awareness, we can move forward in a way that we can choose better strategies in the future. So once you are aware, I have this basic need, then you can choose how you want to meet that need. So, like an example of a need for acceptance. You have a need for acceptance. Maybe in the past, you have been trying to meet that need over and over through relationships with men, through sexual relationships. So that is where, and you have found yourself getting in, even into abusive or toxic relationships, and you shut the door to looking and becoming aware of those abusive and toxic tendencies because you are trying to get your need for acceptance met, and you think the strategy of doing that could be through your relationships, through your sexual relationships. But also that acceptance can be found, a strategy for acceptance could also be in relationships with men, but it could be in a very healthy, loving relationship with a man. But you won't be able to find that until you're able to actually accept yourself. So, focusing on the need for acceptance and how can I accept that within myself? How can I accept myself so that I know that I am worthy enough to be accepted by other people? It was a little bit difficult one to use as an example. Yeah, I should say a very simple example is food. So we all have a basic need for food, right? And somebody who is trying to meet that need and doesn't have any other way that they could see, they might result to stealing food from somebody else because they don't see any other possible way. And to meet that need, one of their strategies is to steal. And that's all they can see, that's all they are aware of, and trying to meet that need. Or, when they become aware, we can meet that need in other ways that are more healthy for us and more healthy for society in general. So there's a lot more I could talk about with NVC, and it's all as far as like the needs being universal and basic and human, and that releases judgment on things that we do against ourselves, things we do against other people. It can release what other people do on us. So this practice that I just shared with you, you can even do it for something that has happened to you. In some place in your life where you feel like you have been a victim, you can, if you are up for it, you can do this practice by writing out an observation about what happened in that situation where I felt a victim. Just observe it as a third party, putting no judgments on it. Then go and try and put your mind into the other person and try and think, what feelings are they feeling in that situation? What need are they trying to meet in that situation? And you could possibly see that they were just trying to meet a need as best as they were able. And that is not to say to release them from, something terrible that has happened and to not hold them accountable, because they still need to be held accountable, because until they are aware of that, then it's not going to change. So it's all about bringing awareness and holding others accountable, but it's not about putting judgments on them and shaming them for those things, because they are doing the best they can, and just like us, we're doing the best we can. Until we are aware of those things, then we're not going to be able to grow and change and choose new strategies to move into the future in trying to meet our needs. So went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but there's a lot there into understanding ourselves and why we do the things we do, and understanding other people and why they do the things they do. And if we can come from a universal understanding of everybody trying to meet their needs, then it will release a lot of judgment and allow space and room for forgiveness to happen. So that is something that can really, that journaling process and identifying our needs. And also a lot of times we will notice that we get triggered by certain things, and that trigger can be triggering for that need that you have, that you are scared it's not going to get met. And so then your trigger pops off. And once you become aware of that, you will see a space start to happen between when the trigger happens and your reaction to it. And then the bigger that space happens, the bigger the gap, the time happens, the more chance you have to be aware and to choose the way in which you want to meet that need, the strategy you want to take to meet that need. So this is all just about becoming more aware of who we are and what experiences, emotions, traumas that have been defining us, and how we can remove the intensity and the triggers to give ourselves the space to make conscious decisions to move from that place of self-awareness that we can choose for ourselves, and no longer see ourselves as that as the victim, or as the terrible person that is really hard on ourselves all the time, because we're wonderful. You're wonderful. I'm wonderful. We're all worthy of love and acceptance and forgiveness and all of the things on the needs list. We're all worthy of that. So, and one last thing, just saying that if this is all to help bring us into balance with ourselves, with our divine nature, with our bodies, because if we are holding all of these things in, then our heart becomes imbalanced, it becomes hurt, and those things can pass to our womb, as we talked about earlier, and we can hold those experiences in our womb, creating problems with our fertility or our menstrual health. And so processing these emotions and experiences are really essential to our health, and the stress that we experience, the anxiety that we experience. We're all worthy to be loved and to be stress-free and anxiety-free. And you might not think it's possible, but I am praying and hoping that it is possible for you. So let's, just let's let that sink in. Like you are worthy of love. You're worthy of love from the divine, from the creator, from God, from goddess, whoever it is that you hold in that position. You are worthy of love from your family. You are worthy of love from your partner, from your relationships. You are worthy of love from yourself. Sometimes that's the hardest one to know and to understand. But also, it's harder to know and understand the others until you know and understand it yourself. Just let that sink in. You are worthy of love for yourself. And I'm just going to read our closing mantra. If you want to go ahead and close your eyes and let it continue to sink in, that love. And say this mantra with me. I open my heart space and am inviting of loving vibrations. I am able to let go of hurt, to forgive myself and others. Love fills my heart and heals me. I love deeply with a genuine passion and trust. I radiate with the essence of pure love. Mm. Mm. That just sink in. Mm. What a beautiful world it is, and a beautiful world it will be, when we can all radiate this love to one another and to ourselves. So I just thank you for joining me today, and I would love to hear from you. Join us in our Facebook group called Lunar Temple and share what you appreciated, what came up for you during this talk. And like I said before, if you want to talk to somebody one-on-one about any of your emotional processes, and particularly around womb, menstrual fertility problems you might be having, you can contact me and we can set up a one-on-one meeting for you. And I just want to thank you again. I'm deeply grateful that you have all listened to this, and I hope you have a wonderful day or night, a wonderful moon cycle this cycle, and a wonderful, a menstrual cycle that reveals more love to you than you were expecting. So thank you.